So when you bake pizza, the rule of thumb is just one. Crank up your oven as high as possible. Whatever its maximum temperature is, that's the temperature you want to set. Honestly, if you were only looking for the blunt answer, you just found it. I guess you don't need to watch the rest of the video unless you realize that maybe there's something else you should consider. In this video, I will tell you what temperature to bake pizza, how hot your oven should be to bake pizza, and I will try to give you some clues and rules of thumb to try and make the most of your oven. We're talking about our everyday oven, the one we usually have in the kitchen, be it electric or gas. Not one of those very powerful purpose-built ovens, and absolutely not a microwave oven. Now, there are loads of different ovens, and of course I can't possibly cover how all of them work, especially because I don't know, I'm no expert in kitchen appliances, but I know that some ovens have one heating element while others have two, and others have an upper grill or broiler, which turns out to be very helpful for our purpose. In fact, I use it every time I bake pizza. But never mind all the technical differences, we need to use our oven with one single goal in mind. Make it as hot as possible. Pizza likes it hot. Ask the pizza maker at your favorite pizzeria about the baking temperature. They will probably tell you that they bake at around 330, 340 degrees Celsius, maybe 350 degrees, just like I used to do back in my pizzeria days when I was very young. Even at home, pizza must be baked as quickly as possible, subject to the performance of the oven itself. So just like I said at the beginning of the video, we need to set the maximum possible temperature. And this is the first cornerstone. The second cornerstone is we must preheat the oven. This sounds quite obvious to me because in order to reach the temperature we set, it takes time. And here pops a question I've been asked quite a few times. How long do I have to preheat the oven? I don't know. Joking, of course. I know, kind of, at least. I can give you a few pointers. Most ovens, probably all of them, they have a control light on the panel that turns on when you switch on the oven. The little light will turn off once the thermostat will measure the desired temperature. The problem with home ovens is that their temperature is not constant. Especially during the first 45 to 60 minutes, it oscillates like a sinusoid. I'm a nerd, I know. Usually 1 hour is enough for this oscillation to decrease and become less wide, so you basically achieve a constant temperature, more constant temperature at least. This could lead us to conclude that we should preheat the oven for 1 hour or so if we want predictable, consistent results. This is actually what many pizza experts state, not sure if they know why. Now you do, so if you ever meet one of them, ask them and see what they say. By the way, in my opinion, preheating for 1 hour could be a little overkill, especially if you only have to bake one single pizza. I mean, you will make the electricity provider really happy, but that's not the goal. Here's what I suggest. Turn on the oven. Wait for the little control light on the panel to go off. It usually takes 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the oven itself, the temperature, etc. Then wait another 10 minutes, 10 extra minutes. And finally you can bake. Please, 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 please do not consider these numbers like strict rules. You don't need to stay there with a stopwatch. Like I said, I'm giving hints, I'm giving rules of thumb, and you need to put some work in. Figure out how your oven works. A bit of trial and error is needed, but eventually you'll get there. Now we can talk about the actual baking. In particular, at this point I think you're interested in the baking time. Please understand that, once again, for me, giving a precise answer to this question is basically impossible, because I don't know what kind of pizza you are planning to bake, what style. I know nothing about your dough, about the recipe you follow, and so on and so forth. So let me define boundaries here, set some standards, so to speak. I will tell you about the baking times for the pizza I make using my dough. If you don't know how I make it, you need to check out this video in the upper right corner. And the benchmark for the temperature will be around 270-75 degrees Celsius. Because guess what? My oven reaches this temperature at most. Also, if you have been following me for a while, you know there's my dough calculator with my recipe in the description of all of my videos. If that's the first time you see me, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Fabio, professional pizzaiolo and author of the book Fabulous Pizza. There's my free dough calculator in the description here below. I think it's a good reason to give a thumbs up to this video, and this is valid for all of you guys, by the way. So the standard pizza will be a 65 hydration dough. If you don't know what it means, there's another video for you in the upper right corner. The size is not too important in this instance, but the thickness is. I will consider a pizza stretched reasonably thin, let's say 2 or 3 millimeters in the middle, while the cornicione, the outer edge, will be definitely thicker, but it doesn't really matter because it has no toppings, so it's easier to cook it fully. It takes 4.5 minutes to bake this kind of pizza at 270-275 degrees Celsius. That's it. I have tested the very same dough in another oven, less powerful, at a temperature of around 220 degrees Celsius, and it took a bit longer than 10 minutes. I just gave you two extremes here because I think that even though there are ovens way less powerful whose highest temperature is 200 degrees or below, I feel they are less common, kind of an exception if you want. In that case, it would be really hard to make the kind of pizza I'm talking about right now, but I will give a shot at my hydration pizza dough. Check out the relevant video on my channel. By the way, the temperatures stamped on the panel of our ovens could be approximations. I don't think they are too different from the reality, but if you want to make sure, consider buying an infrared thermometer like this one. You only have to point, and the temperature appears on the little display here. Ask me about it, write a comment, and I will be happy to give you a link for this kind of items. We are coming to the end of this video. I got a few more pointers to give you. You know, every oven has different shells, of course. So which one is the right one? Of course, that depends. First of all, assuming you bake straight on the rack, using a baking sheet on it, or maybe with some parchment paper. In this case, I will bake in the middle shelf, so a similar amount of heat will come from above and below. Then you assess how well your pizza is cooked, and next time you adjust accordingly and move the rack up or down if needed, of course. I will do the same if you want to use a baking stone or baking steel. Put them on the middle shelf while the oven preheats, so they become nice and hot. And since I mentioned stones and steels, I'll give you my opinion. I prefer a baking steel over the stone. I can also recommend one if you want. Again, leave me a comment and I will give you a link. Stones are okay, of course, but I think they are better when the temperature of the oven is already really high, like above 300 degrees, because at that temperature a steel would scorch the bottom of your pizza. But please note, I never used a baking steel at such a high temperature, to be honest, so I have no first-hand experience. I'm just assuming what would happen. Now, that's okay when the oven has two heating elements, top and bottom. If the heat comes only from one side, you should consider moving your rack in the opposite direction to find some kind of balance. Also, if your oven only radiates heat from the bottom and it has the upper grill or broiler, then turn it on and try and find this balance. This leads to another issue that may happen when the cheese and or the toppings are overcooked, if not burnt, before the bottom of the pizza is actually done. One of the common reasons is that the oven only has one heating element, one on the top, so you should try baking your pizza on a lower shelf or even straight on the floor of the oven,